The young man Willem knelt in chains. The glaring blue light of the sun shone down on him through the glass-domed ceiling of the Judgment Hall. The distant clock tower sounded. 1 hour until noon, until apex. Already he could feel the truth-compelling force of the sunlight. He would have to choose his lies carefully. The Judgment Hall was unusually full today. It seemed he had a bit of a reputation. A lot of good it did him. He was doomed, plain and simple. But he didn't have it in him to just give up. He didn't even know how. The court proceedings began exactly on time. Here in the Judgment Hall, things were done as the Book of Three described. Before Willem, there were 3 doors and 3 chairs, one for each of the gods' chosen representatives. As the toll of the bell faded, the first door, a door of iron, opened. A page's voice rang out, "All rise for the Justice Warden, the Hammer of Truth, the Law Unyielding, the Honorable Justicar de Voir, second of his name, chosen of the Judge." Everyone else in the chamber stood. Willem's chains did not allow him to rise fully, but nor did he kneel. Not to this man. The iron door revealed a man in heavy plate armor, the symbol of his god the Judge emblazoned upon his chest, and a great hammer at his side. This was authority incarnate, a constable, a priest, a man chosen of the Judge. Justicar de Voir entered swiftly, and sat in his place, a high-backed iron chair. The assembly sat as well. After a moment the second door opened, a door of gilded gold. The page called out again, "All rise for Trademaster Lorenz, chosen of the merchant." This surprised Willem. The merchant usually didn't send representatives for petty criminals. He didn't expect the merchant to care enough to send anyone for him. Perhaps there would be a deal offered. Maybe this was his chance. The gilded door revealed a thin older man, wearing fine but not ostentatious clothing. Only an air of dignity and a small gold ring on his finger marked his lofty station. Still, there was no mistaking him. This was a man of incredible wealth and power, one of several chosen of the merchant. He sat in the second chair, a gilded chair of filigree and silk cushions. The assembly sat again. The proceedings paused as the attention of the room turned to the third door. The Justicar did not turn. The third door was of simple, thick wood. It was barred and covered in a comical number of locks and chains. The young man knew it led directly outside, but its passage was guarded night and day. None were allowed to enter or leave by that way for any reason. Before it was a simple, rickety wooden stool, perhaps donated by a local tavern. It was the door and seat of the thief's chosen. The young man knew not to hope too much for that door to open. Why would it? The thief had only 2 commandments, and the second was to never get caught. The young man had broken half the thief's commandments, and the Hall of Justice, under the blue light of the near apex sun, was no place for a representative of the thief. No, it was well known, unlike the other gods, the thief only had one chosen, one individual trusted to carry the full weight of their divine power. Nobody knew who the chosen was, but everybody knew they never came to the Hall of Justice. Not for anyone. But there were stories it had happened before, and despite himself the young man couldn't help but hope, just a little. The moment passed. The third door remained closed. The Justicar stood. "Willem Swepson, you are hereby accused of thievery, of conspiracy to commit thievery, of harboring criminals, of hiding fugitives, and of teaching thiefcraft. How do you plead?" Willem felt his blood turn to ice. They knew. How could they know? He had been so careful. He thought they were just going to charge him with burglary. It was the crime he had been committing when they caught him. But they knew about his family. Thinking fast, he considered what to say. He could claim innocence, but under the power of the blue light, he wasn't sure if he could sell such an obvious lie. A half-truth, then. "They're just children," he said, meeting the gaze of the Justicar. "I take in kids who have nowhere else to go. I steal food for them, that's it. There's no thief-craft." He stumbled on the last bit, the lie catching in his throat. Damn that blue sun. "Your confession is noted," the Justicar said. "I cast the verdict guilty. You are hereby sentenced to death by fire. The judge has spoken." The Justicar sat back down. Willem grimaced. That couldn't have gone much worse. It was about what he expected, but apparently his life wasn't even worth a full minute of consideration. Next, the trademaster stood. His voice was soft, kind even. "Willem," he said, "this doesn't have to be the end for you. According to the Book of 3, decisions to punish you must be unanimous by all the chosen in attendance. That means I can reduce your sentence, or even set you free, absolved of all charges. I can do more than that too. I can make you a rich man. You'll never need to steal again. But I need something from you, Willem. Just tell me where your den is. You can whisper it in my ear if you like. I don't work for the judge. The Justicars need never know. Do this and you will walk away free and wealthy. I swear it. So that was it. The merchant wanted his crew, his kids, his family. He didn't even have to think about his decision. The thief's first commandment was stand by your own, but even if it wasn't, there was no way. Defiantly, he glared at the trademaster. Sorry. I know you're used to buying whatever you want, but you can't afford that secret. I will never sell them to you, not for the Golden Empire itself, you slimy silver tongue. The light of the blue sun did not hinder his words in the slightest. Very well, the trademaster said, seeming genuinely disappointed. I cast no verdict. The sentence stands unchanged. The merchant has spoken. He too sat back down. The Justicar stood to speak again, but was interrupted by a woman's voice. Wait, I'm here. Am I late? Sorry. It's my turn next. A shocked silence filled the room as a young woman, thin and scrawny, poked her head out of the merchant's gilded door. She wore peasant's garb. Sorry, she said, squeezing past the trademaster and plopping daintily down on the stool. I would have come earlier, but my clock's a little off and the door's a little stuck. You might want to look into that. Oh, here's the problem. She scooted her stool up to the wooden door and began deftly picking the locks. Well, go ahead and announce me, she called over her shoulder to the page. The poor page tried her best. All rise for the woman of mystery, the chosen of the thief? The last part was said as a question. The mystery woman continued to work, locks and chains falling to the ground. They opened for her faster than if she had had a key. Even so, the Justicar looked at her with incredulity. Are we really to believe that you are the chosen of the thief? As the final board holding the door fell to the ground, she returned his gaze, rolling her eyes and speaking slowly as if to someone incredibly stupid. Well, I'm sitting in the spot, aren't I? And according to your fancy book, that means it's my turn to have a say. Slowly, reluctantly, the Justicar sat again. One by one, he caught the gaze of each of the guards in the room, faithful servants of the judge, and gave them each a meaningful look. So, Willem, is it? Said the woman, scooting her stool back and turning her attention back toward the center. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm supposed to stand for this bit, right? So, Willem, do you actually want to die by fire? Willem, just as shocked as anybody, shook his head. Yeah, thought not, she said. Well done, keeping the commandment, by the way. Super cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, nah. I hereby cast the verdict not guilty. The previous verdict and sentence are struck, and the defendant is absolved of all charges. Guards, set him free. The guards glanced at the Justicar for confirmation. Slowly he nodded. Gingerly, one of them stepped into the middle of the room and unbound Willem. Still unsure of himself, Willem wasn't sure what to do. He glanced up at the woman who had apparently saved him. She looked him in the eye. Go on, have a seat, she said. You're a free man now, and it's going to be quite a show. The crowd murmured, but didn't try to stop him as he climbed up and took a seat among them. After a moment, the Justicar spoke again. Is your business then concluded? Thieves chosen? He asked. The trademaster, seemingly sensing what was coming next, stood and left, and disappeared once again into his gilded door. Oh yeah, the woman said. I forgot. The thief has spoken. With furious speed, almost before she finished speaking, the Justicar lunged at her. She scooted nimbly away from his grasp, but also away from her door. The other guards charged up toward her. She was quickly cornered. The Justicar grabbed her roughly, pinned her to the ground, and began shackling her wrists and legs. Thieves chosen, he panted, barely able to contain his glee. You are under arrest for thiefcraft of the first degree. He relieved her of all her tools and weapons and dragged her to the center of the chamber. Just to be sure, he ordered 2 of the guards to hold her there. He wasn't leaving anything to chance. There would be no night in the dungeon for her, which he might use to escape. The rest of the day's business could wait. He would sentence her himself, imprison her himself. And then, with the thief's only chosen trapped and no power left to grant a new chosen, the thief would be truly powerless. The judge would finally rule the city properly, unhindered by the endless concessions the thief always managed to extract, and Justicar de Voir would be the one who made it happen. The Justicar returned to his position on the dais. "Thieves chosen, you are hereby accused of thiefcraft of the first degree. How do you plead?" Bruised and clearly unhappy, she still managed to smirk up at him. "I demand the right of confession," she said. Another round of murmuring filled the room. What was she planning? Could this be a delay tactic? The Justicar glared at her. "Very well, you will confess at Apex." He checked his pocket clock. "In 47 minutes, you will remain bound and in my sight until then." The woman was moved off the Justice Hall floor, fitted with more constraints and held by 4 guards. While they waited for Apex, the day's business continued. One by one, accused were brought onto the judgment floor and given opportunity to plead or confess under the blue sun. Spectators frequently checked their personal clocks. As the clocks ticked closer to noon, the power of the sunlight grew. Many of the accused tried to lie, but the blue sun choked the words in their throats. One older woman managed to claim innocence at a half hour until Apex, but when brought back 15 minutes later under the more powerful light, she could not repeat her claim. The chosen of the merchant did not return, so the Justicar judged and sentenced each of them alone. All the while, he carefully watched both the prisoner and the time. At last, Apex was imminent. For 1 minute, the light would be at its strongest, and lying would be impossible, no matter how skilled at deception the speaker may be. Legend said even gods could not willingly deceive while standing in the light of the Apex blue sun. The thief's chosen was returned to the chamber floor. The dome focused the light into a blinding beam on her, not quite enough to burn her, but enough that she could feel the heat and the power of the blue sun. The distant clock tower sounded. Every clock in the chamber simultaneously chimed, perfectly synchronized. Apex had begun. "Speak," commanded the judge, "or let silence be your confession." Standing, she did speak. "I am innocent," she said, without even the slightest quiver in her voice. "I have broken no laws. Though I am chosen, I do not even worship the thief. The judge is the god of my heart." After a moment of shocked silence, the captain of the guard stepped forward to release her. "Wait, stop!" cried the Justicar. The captain paused. "But we must," she said. "She is innocent under Apex. We have to let her go immediately. It is the law." "That's right," said the thief's chosen, visibly sweating in the heat of the light. "It's the law. I wonder what would happen if you broke the law, Mr. Judge Chosen." The Justicar did not have to wonder. He knew. "Release her," he said through clenched teeth. How could this happen? Was the thief somehow more powerful than the blue sun? More powerful than truth itself? It couldn't be. The thief's chosen assisted in removing her own bonds, until at last she was free again. Carefully, she collected her things from the floor. The entire room was deathly silent, and in that perfect silence, a distant sound was heard. It was another clock tower, much further on the far side of town. It was chiming the start of Apex. It was somehow 1 minute slower than all the clocks of the attendees. 1 minute slower than the nearer clock tower. 1 minute slower than the pocket clock of the Justicar himself. "Oops," said the thief's chosen, hopping up onto the dais. "Missed one." Too slow, the Justicar realized what it meant. "Seize her!" he cried, lunging toward her once again. Too late. She slipped into the thief's door. The Justicar tried to follow, but it would not open for him. With his great hammer, he smashed it to splinters. But he was far too late. The passage was empty. The guards on the far side were still at their posts, unaware of the commotion. They claimed they saw nothing. And that's the story of the best time a thief ever stole. I am your humble storyteller, Silas Silver, and if you liked that, you'll probably enjoy some of my other stories. You can see those here, or you can come hear them from me live on my Discord. It's a fun, chill place where we talk about stories and games. If enough of you show up, I'm hoping to run some games and share some stories that aren't quite ready for YouTube yet. Link down below. And until I see you there, toodles.